Good. Back to Roy Dessler. Today's Monday, and someone asked about Monday. So Monday is Stocks and Sichot. So I'm not sure if you know this, but this morning there was a massive outage for Amazon. They had their AWS, their server cloud came down today, and it was unclear what it really was. There was some speculation that it was a fire. Other people say it's something malfunctioned. Doesn't really matter. Bottom line is, these things happen all the time, and they come and they go. It was fixed relatively quickly, and I'm imagining that Amazon will take a little bit of a dump today. I think Amazon is actually still a good stock to actually purchase. Most people don't understand what Amazon is. Amazon does not just sell things. Most of their business, I think 30% of their business is in cloud storage, which is
150% of their profit is in cloud storage.
Oh yeah, I mean most of their profit is in cloud storage, and they burn everything. So the stuff they sell is like the small stuff. But the thing that's going to transform Amazon in the next couple of years, number one, is they actually are finalizing their drone technology, where you'll be able to have deliveries within 15 minutes. You're going to pay an extra fee to have stuff delivered to your house within 15 minutes. It'll be a drone delivered to your house and drop it off on the package. And the city, they talk about like high rises roofs. You'll have like a special Amazon drop off. You go to your roof to pick up your package, and more of like rural areas or in more suburban areas, you'll have your lawn like an X or whatever it is for them to drop your packages off. But it's going to happen very quickly. I think within the next year, they're already saying in some parts of America. So I see, and I think it's only trading. I think 27 times PE ratio, which is relatively low compared to other companies of its size, like Google, also, which is a massive company, also does its own cloud storage. Also, a lot of money coming in from revenue there, from I think 30% as well. But most people don't realize that most of Google's profits comes from ads, right? So Amazon is actually cutting into Google's ad space a lot. So you could see how things are going to, I think, switch.
Converge.
So if I think Amazon, if you're looking for long-term holding on to something good, I think Amazon is a good pick. I still think Tesla's a good pick as well, even though it's pretty high right now. They're going to be releasing information, I think this quarter, about their cheaper Model 3, which is going to be under $40,000, which is a big deal. But more excitingly than their cars is their trucks. Trucks are going to be massive.
What about the robot?
Oh, I mean, the robot's like a whole separate thing. So again, like the robot's another 10. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, so for me, like looking long term, you're looking for a long term investment. Of course, it's going to be shaky, right? I still think Tesla, Amazon are all really good picks. And Bezat Hashem, if you hold it, have diamond hands, God willing, you'll make a lot of money for you and your family. All right. Anyway, this week's
and your grandchildren.
Bezat Hashem and your grandchildren. Yeah, well, anyone whose services were connected to the East Coast servers for Amazon were down today as well. So,
Result on the engagement.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. All right. Anyway, so I'm still figuring out what we're doing with Rav Dessler moving forward, because I think we went through most of his essays. He doesn't have that many books. He only has there's 5 volumes, and most of what he wrote were these small little letters. Michta Meliao is literally a conglomerate of small little letters that he wrote to students. Some of it were actual, classes prepared, and some of it were just, short little things that people heard, they wrote down, and so on and so forth. His actual grandson is alive today, Rabbi Reuven Dessler, actually lives in Cleveland, Ohio, and is not a rabbi, but more of a businessman.
Named after you.
Named after me, definitely not named after me. But anyway, so I want to speak a little bit about Parshat Noach, which I know is not what they typically do beyond breakfast. But I think it's important. There's this one scene at the end of the Parsha. Forget about Noach for a second. Let's just fast forward to the end of the Parsha. End of the Parsha, we know that there's someone by the name of Terach. And Terach has 3 children. You know what their names were? Terach. Terach had 3, not Noach. We skipped Noach, right? That's that. Avraham is one, right? Anyone else? Who else? Nahor and Haran. 3 children. These are the 3 sons. Avraham is the oldest. Now, what most people don't know about Avraham is that Avraham was born at a time, according to Midrashim, where the king of the time, named Nimrod, outlawed the birth of all boys. And similar to the story of Moshe, where Paro said all the boys should be thrown into the river, during Nimrod's time, every boy, the firstborn child, was supposed to be sent to the fire of Moloch, right? This is the same fire they were using to build the Tower of Babel, the Kivshana Esh that was there, was a massive foundry that were where all the boys were being sent in. That's how they sacrificed to this god. What's that?
Kiln.
They had the kiln, correct. The
The
kiln.
blocks.
The blocks,
The
correct. It was
bricks.
much more than a kiln because this is a massive, you know.
Kilns can be big.
I guess. Anyway, I think of kilns as being, anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so Kitzur is that Avraham Avinu's mother, okay, anyone know what her name was? Gemara says her name was. Her name was Amtalia, okay, or it comes from the word Amtala in Aramaic, which means a logical argument.
Logical or illogical?
Logical, not illogical. Very funny. Anyways, so Chachamim point out, yeah, Amtala. So Amtalia was a brilliant, fierce woman who pushed her husband and said, "I'm pregnant, and if it's a boy, there's no way on earth I'm giving you my child." So the backstory is, and this is all Midrashim right now, is that she says, "There's no way I'm giving up my son." He says, "Well, I can't protect you." She leaves the house. She goes out into the midbar and she gives birth on her own. And she raises baby Avraham.
Sort of like Ishmael.
Sort of like Ishmael, actually. Sort of like Ishmael. This would be Sarah's grandmother. Mother. Sarah's mother. No, grandmother. Avram's mother is Sarah's grandmother. And I guess later. Anyway, so she raises the child out there, and he's completely separated from all of society, and he's about 5 years old, according to some Midrashim, 13 years old, and he's questioning everything. So instead of coming from a society where it's monarchy, totalitarianism coming down, telling you what to think, what to believe, he's born outside of the society, taught to think independently, question ferociously, and have a critical thinking mind, and now coming back to society. Out of the box. And asking these amazing questions. Well, like, I don't understand. Like, I see the size of the earth. I see the size of the sun and the moon, and just the way everything on planet Earth works in unison with one another. There's no way that there are multiple gods pulling the strings over here. Everything is working with unity. There must be one God. That's one of the arguments that he makes, and he comes to the conclusion of monotheism. Anyway, at some point, the ban of having baby boys is lifted. He comes back to society, and so on and so forth. He comes back to society, and he has two brothers, meets the family, comes into the family business, which is the famous midrash you're all familiar with, right? And his father was an idol pusher. He would sell idols and so on and so forth. He comes to the factory, he's watching this whole entire business. He doesn't understand what's going on over here. An old lady comes in, she buys an idol that was just created a couple of days ago, and she's bowing down to it and worshiping and sacrificing to it, and he's just going absolutely bonkers. He doesn't understand what's going on. And you can understand why he doesn't understand what's going on, because he's coming from a place outside of the culture and being reintroduced into the culture. So he decides...
He's in Ivry even before he's in Ivry.
He was born in Ivry, separate, right? So he takes a hammer and destroys all the idols in the shop, and he's trying to, except for one, the largest one. He puts the hammer inside of the idol's hands. He's standing like this. And his father says, "Oh my God, what happened to all of our merchandise? What happened to all my profits? What happened to my business?" And Avraham says there was a battle of the gods, and the biggest one won. And he's like, "What are you talking about? That's not how this works." Meaning, according to the Midrash, Terach was aware that the whole entire idol stuff was just a sketch way to make business. But why are you confusing what's going on here? Like, obviously we don't believe in this stuff, but Terach realized that his son was such a threat to his family, he had no choice but to call the local police and have him arrested. So now Avraham is arrested, he's in jail. He's going to go on trial. Terach hears about this, right? And
No, Terach
sends his son to jail.
Right.
Nimrod hears about this. Okay, thank you. And he was curious, like, who's this guy? I didn't hear about you. I didn't know you had an older son. So there's a court case, and they're standing there in their Colosseum-like arena. And the fire is still, the foundry, the kiln is still burning. And he says to him, it's very simple here. I heard what happened. No problem. We could fix this. You could do teshuva in the world of polytheism. All you got to do is, renounce this concept of monotheism, accept any one of the pantheon of gods in Iraq, and you'll be safe. So he says, okay, which God should I serve? Avraham says. He says, well, I don't know, pick one. He says, okay, I'll worship the sun. So he says, okay, Nimrod says, worship the sun. He says, no, but the truth is, clouds are stronger than the sun, right? Because the clouds can block out the sun. So Nimrod says, okay, great, so worship the clouds. He's like, but really the wind blows away the clouds. And he starts going through this series of reductive arguments that ultimately come down to the idea I can't worship any of these things. This whole thing is ridiculous. So he says, you know what? Throw him into the kivshana esh. Throw him into the fire. Right now, in the interim, as this is happening, the family is being interrogated, and they're asking the brothers, Haran and Nahor, do you believe the same thing your brother believes in Avraham? And Haran says, I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. Let's see what happens with Avraham. Nahor says, absolutely not. My brother's nuts. I don't know who he is. I just met him. He's not part of the family. He fell when he was born. He was alone. He's an isolationist. He's crazy. I'm not connected to him. All right, anyway, so Avraham is thrown into the Kivshan Esh, and somehow, miraculously, he survives. And Haran says, I believe in one God like my brother. Right? They take Haran in, and they throw him to the Kivshan Esh. What happens? Cinched. Right? Cajun style. Gone. Right? So the question is, why? Why does Haran die like that? Why isn't it enough for him to say, you know what, I believe like my brother. Okay, he needed a miracle. He didn't have the same intellectual ability that Avraham had. But you know what, he had faith. He wasn't sure. He was on the fence. Why not saving like that? Yeah.
Abraham went in to prove Hashem's oneness. Haran went in so that he could come out.
Okay, very good. So that is, I would say, like the general answer. Maharal actually points out a fascinating thing about Haran. So we know that Haran his name is made up of 3 letters, He, Resh, and Nun. Right? Now, we know each Hebrew letter has a numerical value. He is 5, Resh is 200, and Nun is 50. So when I first saw this, I'm like, well...
It's like the Yankees batting.
Right. I don't see any correlation, but not to the Maharal. Maharal sees a correlation. What's this correlation? He says each number is a midway point in a system. Right? So He is midway of 1 to 10. Right? 50, right? Nun is midway from 1 to 100. And Resh is midway between 1 to 400, 400 being the largest letter or number, in the Hebrew alphabet, in the Hebrew numerical, font system, right? So he says Haran represents being stuck in the middle, right? He's unable to decide. He's always that, maybe he was a middle child even, I'm not even sure, I think he was, right? He's just stuck in the middle. He can't decide. He doesn't know how to make any choices over here. So, you can't live a life like that when you're stuck in the middle. You're stuck in the middle, you're stuck. You ever hear of paralysis by analysis? So that's Haran. He just doesn't know what to do. So he ends up dying. You can't live a life of meaning if there's no growth, if you're always stuck. There has to be something that motivates you to want to become something more. So the Maharal points out, he says there's someone else in the Torah who has exactly the same letters in their name, but one letter added. And that is Aharon. Right? Same exact thing as Haran with an Aleph in the beginning. And the difference is...
50.1.
Yeah, he's 50.1, but enough to the side that allows you... Now, what's so interesting about that idea is that if you think about it, the Kohen's job is to be centrist. He was the guy that was eating meat and fats, and he was the guy who was Ohev Shalom, Rodef Shalom. He was the guy that was supposed to be the bridge between the material and the spiritual. He was in the middle, so to speak, but you can't be in the middle in this world and succeed in anything. Right? You have to still have something that's guiding you and anchoring you. The same thing that Avraham had is the same thing that Aaron has. The Aleph is Echad. It's oneness. Understanding that there is a mission, there's a goal. We all have to be motivated by something. Holidays are over. Right? There were 29 meals that we ate, over the last,
They're all right
they're all right here. I'm not doing any blood tests for another 4 weeks, just to make sure I can just clear my system out and everything else like that, right? Because it's horrible right now. But we are at a huge stretch between now and Hanukkah. It's about 10 weeks, right? And so it's so easy to feel burnt out. I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out from all the holidays and whatever it is. But if anything, what's that? And all the slichot. It's been a nonstop, and it was so many great things that have happened for us right now with the hostages coming home and hopefully this war coming to an end and things moving into a much better place for Jews in Israel and around the world. But this is the time where we're supposed to double down on asking ourselves, who do we want to be? There's no room to be in the middle. There's no room to be unsure, uncertain about your direction in life. Haran ends up losing because he's got nothing. And I'll say, by the way, the reason why I believe Abraham was saved is because he lived in a reality where the difference between me taking a breath and me being thrown to the fire is no difference. It's all a miracle. That was his reality. Every moment of life was miraculous. Me waving my hand is a miracle. So there's no miracle for Avraham Avinu being saved from the Kivshan Esh. Because every moment of life is miraculous. When you live in that kind of an empowered life, Avraham was the ultimate businessman. He started the idea of giving things away for free. Remember when Google first started? You know how they started? They gave Gmail away to everybody for free. It was a crazy.
It's not still for free?
It is for free for a certain amount, but they started the whole concept of like, we're going to give you stuff for free, right? You're going to give us your information, you're paying for that, and we're going to give you stuff for free. But the first person to start that whole model of challenging people was Avraham. I'm going to give you free food. All you have to say is bracha. Give me a bracha. Say Baruch Hashem. And he starts changing the whole entire Middle East like this. But it comes from a conviction. When you have a conviction, when you have the Aleph in front, leading you and guiding you, there's no room to be apathetic, uncertain, indecisive. We need to live in a world of decision making. We need to be proactively growing and developing ourselves. The reason why the world is so broken right now is because so many people around the world are so indecisive and lack moral clarity. Avraham reminds us of the moral clarity we're supposed to have. Haran, a Kohen, is supposed to be the process that each of us, working through our own intellectual understanding of Keter Kehuna, Keter Torah, Keter Malchut, bringing these things into reality. With those things, we become decisive actors and not passive, spectators of a world that has so much potential in life. As Hashem will continue tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.